Well, thank you all for being a part of tonight's call. Tonight, it's just going to be me. Peyton's at a wedding and has terrible service in Montana. So, cheers to him. We're going to get started. Really excited about tonight's call. It's funny because you've heard me say this a bunch of times. The quality of your life is the quality of the questions you ask yourself. And like I always say, I kind of ask myself the same question everywhere I go, all the time. If I was going to the corporate office to go meet with Dan and JC, I would ask myself, what do you hope to get out of this conversation? Right before Peyton and I would deliberate for what this week's call is, as we're talking during the week about it, right that day of. That's the question. What do you hope to get out of this call? And we always joke because it's like the same answer every time. It's like, don't quit, sign someone up, share the product with at least two people. That's that would be the short way. But I started thinking like, okay, why talk to everyone? Whether that's making a list, whether that's blasting people. And we always get like off on belief and talking about belief and your excitement level and doing that. But not everyone is excited every single day. I mean, some days you don't have the energy to do anything. And that's just kind of how that day is. I'd still say open your mouth. You know what I mean? There's these people that like, they're how would I describe them? They're like me. They're very introverted, and it's very difficult to strike conversation and talk. And then after the conversation, they're worrying about it. I'm like the introvert. This isn't an introvert's business, but yet some of the most successful people in this business are the introverts. I'm an introvert that learned extroverted things so I could do that because either I want to be the way that I am or I want a different result. And so I chose a different result, but I say like, why talk to everybody, whether that's the list, whether that's a stranger, somebody in line, and consciously bring the conversation up to where it either sees if they're at 10 o'clock in their life or 2 o'clock where the hands meet and timing aligns with opportunity and they're looking for something. If it's that, or if it's somebody who would be interested in the product, I just weigh them and I'm like, the product is a really easy conversation to bring up. Just to get a customer and give a coupon code, very easy to do. Getting customers, slow lead into the business. But it's kind of funny how it goes. It's like, we talk about maybe you don't care, maybe that's what it is. It's maybe why'd you get in this business? Maybe you don't want your why bad enough. That's why you don't talk to people. What would motivate you to strike a conversation, to have those things? And a lot of times it's like, okay, so I always say compensation plan always dictates the culture of a company. You can see how people get paid, and then you know the behaviors that they're going to model. If it, like, for example, if you made 25 times more money getting a customer than getting someone in the business, you're probably going to have a conversation about the product instead of having a conversation about the business. But if you're having the conversation about the business because it made you $25 and the product made you $1, then you would have that conversation. And so I look at it and I think about it like this. So let's just say you make like $50,000 at your job. What is that? $5,000 a month, 4,800? I don't know, something like that. Let's say you make 60,000 is 5,000 a month. So you make $60,000 in a year, $5,000 a month gross. This is your life. This is your scenario. This is your situation. And you're like, man, if I could add $2,000 a month to that, my lifestyle would vastly improve because that's like a third more income in that sense. And so it's like, oh, well, if I'm to get a certain amount of customers or a certain amount of things, and you look at your taxes at the end of the year, forget the business for just 2 seconds and look at your taxes at the end of the year. If you make 60 grand in taxes, you're in a specific bracket. You have to pay a specific amount of money for those taxes, and they withhold that money from your check. And then at the end of the year, you do your taxes and you get usually some of that money back in a tax return if you're a W-2 type of employee. If you're the 1099 employee, like this type of business, they take no money from your taxes. And then at the end of the year, you got to square up with them. And sometimes you have to pay them depending on how you did your taxes. But the way that home-based businesses taxes work, it's so hard to quantify. I think the IRS hates us because there's so many write-offs. Every time I'm driving anywhere, I just think, man, that's like 50 cents a mile. And then it's like, well, what if not all your driving is for work? And you say, well, what if mentally you knew that you could get the write-off if you asked them if they wanted to join the business, or you try to get them as a customer. So I know that I would be in compliance with IRS tax code if I was trying to write off my food, if I was trying to write off whatever I bought, if I was trying to write off that vacation, if I was trying to write off whatever I was trying to write off. And it's like, how does write-offs work? So if I made $60,000 and I had $80,000 in write-offs, my business, my job would have made 60, but my business, my home-based business lost 80. So then I would have a 20 grand in the hole for that tax year. Granted, I made 60 grand. I am not a tax professional. I'm not giving tax advice. I don't have the qualification to do so. I just know that you get with your CPA or your accountant on taxes, and they'll tell you, you have 5 years your business can declare a loss. So think about the added income that is in terms of whatever you do at your job, tax wise, what that could do. I think, man, I need to talk to everybody about this because people keep dying from heart attacks. And if they were drinking our product, they'd be alive. I'm like, I need to keep talking to people about this because they don't know that they can get a 20% increase on their tax savings just by being a part of this. If I take a trip with the family to Hawaii and we're gone there and I spent 20 grand on the trip, but while I was there, I recruited my biggest leader. The whole trip was a cost to get that leader, and that leader over time will do more volume than the tax thing. But that whole trip was written off legitimately. Because of that, you could gift your kids. There's so many things in the tax code. So if you don't have a good tax person for taxes, as long as you're in a business like this, just realize what can be done in a business like this. And when I talk about declaring a loss, I mean, think about most businesses. A traditional business takes 3 to 5 years to turn a profit or break even. And you can do that with 2 customers, with 3 people that want to get in for 89 with 2 bags. So there are so many tax write-offs that if you just stayed in the business for 3 years to get the profit sharing that was promised, that's one part. If you're just on auto ship, you're better because you're drinking it. If you're sharing with people, you're doing God's work and a service to your community and potentially saving lives. And then on top of it, the aspect of sharing it gets you write-offs everywhere you go that are legitimate in the tax code, which adds to your income, even if you don't sign people up and do the business that way. But if you want to do the business, like really want to do the business, you'll hear this one echoed over and over and over again, but it's almost like how in traditional business, you're in the black 3 to 5 years in. So many people quit. So many people quit in 2 to 3 months, 2 to 3 weeks. People quit on everything. But people that stay the course, you see an introvert have the result of an extrovert. Sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 5 years, but in that range, so many of the people that had weak resolve or didn't have a strong vision will quit. And the ones that stay the course, they become a different person and they end up with this result that happens later. And it's like, you never know. I remember in my personal career, the first time that it happened for me, I was spinning my wheels for 1.5 years and almost everybody quit. And I stayed and stayed and stayed. And I got one guy who did a meeting at his house, and that led to a meeting at another guy's house. And all of a sudden we had like a couple hundred people that were showing up consistently to stuff. And in those couple hundred people, one leader emerged that if I'd have quit, he would have stayed. My income was anchored by that guy, and he went and found the next leader that then kind of sustained his group. And it's always like some random thing, and you never know who it's going to be. It's like the book 3 Feet from Gold. It's one of those things where you never know who it's going to be. And I thought I would finish telling a true story that was one of the most heartbreaking moments I had in my networking career. In the beginning, I had finally hit my goal. I was making about twice what my job was making, and I quit my job. That was a good feeling. Like, I'm never going to work another job again. This is the last job I'll ever have. I went and got my car washed. I'd gone to the store and I bought a new outfit. I got my hair done, like cut, my eyebrows done. My car got washed, detailed. I was listening to music. It was like winter had melted off, and it was kind of felt like a spring day, but it was still winter. And I'm driving with the windows down. My music's really loud. And I'm in this car that was like a few years old, but it looked nice. It was like anyways. And I drive up to go get myself a Jamba Juice, and I go in to place my order. And it's a guy I haven't seen since high school. I'm talking to him, and I got my phone on the counter and talking to him about like life. And I try to recruit him in the business. And he's like, oh, what are you doing now? That was how it started. What are you doing now? Is that your car? I was like, yeah, it seems like you're doing good, he says. And I was like, yeah, you know, those are those things where people sign people up under people and there's like a product and everything, kind of like pyramid. That's literally what I said. He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, I'm in one of those. He goes, oh, how come you never called me? And I said, oh, I'm pretty sure I did. And he's like, no, you didn't. He's like, I don't remember that. And I thought about it and I was like, I don't have your number. So he's like, man, I would have been interested in that. It looks like it's going really good for you. And then he hands me the Jamba Juice and he pulls his phone out and he calls me and his face and his name show up on my phone and he sees it. I see it. And he's like, I guess you do have my number. And I was like, well, hey, you want to sit down and talk about it? When are you free? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. He's kind of like that. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. I'm good. Thanks, though. And then here's the killer. He ended up joining another company, and I heard about him because one of the people under him reached out to one of the people under me, and they both brought their people above them. And we went to a meeting, and I was like, no way, what? And he was doing really, really well. What I didn't know was that his uncle was a really high up in one of these companies. His other uncle was very, very, very successful. He recruited a couple of uncles and made a ton of money. And there are so many stories of that where somebody's just diligently doing the work and then something pops for them. So if I had to say, what do you hope to get out of tonight's call? I would say, well, don't quit, sign someone up, share the product, talk to some new people, because that's what I continue to do everywhere that I go. And I continue to see death and heart-related issues. I never noticed it before. And I notice it all the time. And I'm like, we should share this everywhere we go because we get more tax write-offs by doing it. We have the hope for gain of getting someone into the business or a customer in the product. And if we want to go for the big money in the most effortless, magical, fun, and quick way, it would be like whatever you want to call your ritual. It could be prayer. It could be like meditation. It could be manifestation, visualization, whatever Asian you want to add to it, whatever you want to title it as, but get peaceful, get grateful, focus on the gratitude, because gratitude is you sending to the universe a message that says, I'm so blessed, I have so much, thank you. And then you get more situations, experiences, and moments in life this week to feel that emotion and for those situations to evoke that sort of sense in you. So once you're there, then just focus on what it is you want to see. Like, imagine someone gets in that's an influencer that already has the following of health and wellness, and they have a big voice and everybody respects and regards them, and whatever product they promote, they sell tens of thousands of them and they stay consistently on it. No one wants to get really hype about vitamins. It's like if you could drink a sugary drink, you're going to choose a sugary drink over the taste of our greens. But if you're able to eliminate a handful of pills, a bunch of powders, and put it all into like one thing once a day, and it's more than tolerable compared to like that nasty vitamin sort of taste, energy, and all that. It's like, this is so good, but it's like one of those things where you could tell somebody that they need to eat gluten-free or to take glyphosate out of their diet or not to eat seed oils. And they're gonna be like, well, it's just this once, it's fine, until someone dies of a heart attack. And maybe that is the thing that ends up getting them to focus on their health. But if you look at our country in general, people don't seem to care that much about their health or nutrition. So we're fighting that uphill battle. And I think our strongest weapon needs to be our own personal testimonials to raise the awareness of why they need to take this every day for the rest of their life. My favorite thing is to stir up the conversation and then ask them if they've heard that Tony Robbins talk on alkalinity. And then I will send that to them from the resources folder or playlist or whatever in that YouTube channel. And then I send that out to them. And then I'm like, I have a phenomenal green juice. I give them a couple samples. If you're at all interested in your health or understanding how it works, you should listen to that audio and try this. And so there's just a bunch of different ways where I get them all hype and worried on the test, don't guess. But at the end of the day, we're fighting the uphill battle if people would rather live for today than prepare for tomorrow in that sense. So I hope you all have a really good week. I hope you take a moment to draw someone to you, to set goals, to share this with people. And I thank you all for watching this and being a part of our journey this evening and this weekend and this month and this year, where we're going with this company. We've only been going for about a year and a half. And think of all that's changed, all these things. It's like there were all these like hopes and promises and things. And I see people talking about a new website and when's the new website coming? When's the app coming? When's this? When's that? When's that? And I think you could put tens of thousands of people into this with just one product video and a little bit of text and a message. Like, it's all the relationships. And if you care about people, you share a product. And when you find something that you love, you share it with people. And if it's the whole entire package, and share that. And if we keep waiting around for the company to make some kind of website or product or video or this or that, or whatever we think we need them to make, then we're just holding ourselves back, because it's really just sharing it with people. And so I would ask you to make a list this week of all the people you know with strong circles of influence, people that have followings like this, people that this would resonate with for them. Because if they made 25 bucks off of each customer, that's a different opportunity and offer for them. And then you get $1 override on every one of those. That's as easy as pie in the sky. You just connect them to it, make sure they're good to go, and they go. And then be the resource to answer any questions and or help them in any way you can. Thank you guys for being a part of the journey. We'll see you soon.